Today you can meet people who have never used the internet or mobile phone, you can even find people who cannot read or write. This is a rarity but a fact, but at the same time it is difficult to find someone who has never worn Adidas clothes or shoes, and even more so who has never heard of this brand, and this is not surprising because the German brand today is one of the leaders among sportswear brands. It's hard to fathom how the largest brands in the world came into being. From a humble idea formed in a kitchen to a multi-dimensional, multi-million-dollar enterprise operating throughout the world. The road to success involves perseverance, trial and error, and constant learning and figuring out what works, as well as what doesn't. A lesson that we can learn from brands such as Adidas, which have already learned the value of strategic marketing, is that any brand can become valuable if it is treated as such. How did the brand start? In 1920, at the age of 20, avid soccer player Adolf Adi Dassler, son of a cobbler, invented spiked shoes for track and field. 4 years later Adi and his brother Rudolf, Rudi, founded the German sports shoe company Gebrüder Dassler. After going to school and completing a short apprenticeship, he decided that baking would not be a career for him. Having served in the army during World War I, he returned to his family home at the end of the war and learned the skills of a shoemaker. Using the few materials that were available to him post-World War I, he made shoes in the washroom of his mom's house. Adi made lightweight cleats with canvas and studs. Although Adi had experience in sports, he was never overconfident in his knowledge about providing high-quality and well-made equipment to his customers. He would regularly observe and discuss with professional athletes what kinds of problems they might be experiencing with their shoes by paying regular visits to their facilities. Using his expertise, he would create a product that would meet their needs. The success of Adidas was built partly on the motivation of Adi to make athletes' lives better by creating products that were solely focused on improving their lives. How did they become Adidas? Beginning with the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam, Adi's uniquely designed shoes began to gain a worldwide reputation. Jesse Owens was wearing a pair of Dassler's track shoes when he won 4 gold medals for the US at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The Dassler brothers and World War II. During the war, both Dassler brothers were members of the NSDAP, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and eventually even produced a weapon called Panzerschreck, an anti-tank bazooka, made with the help of forced labor. It's also believed that Adi Dassler used Russian prisoners of war to help at his factory during the war since there was a labor shortage due to the war effort. The Dasslers had a falling out during the war. Rudolf believed Adi had identified him as a traitor to American forces. In 1948, Rudi founded what would later become Puma, a rival shoe company to Adidas. In 1949, Adidas underwent a rebranding when Adi Dassler wanted Adidas to be more than just an athletic apparel company. In the same year, Adidas introduced the famous three-striped shoe that is synonymous with the brand today. The 1950s. In the 1950s, when the three stripes were adopted, the technology boom was accompanied by innovations in athletes' equipment. Adidas's first decade produced the Samba, still used today on indoor soccer fields for agility and speed, and the streets for style. Also during this decade, numerous innovations, such as the all-round basketball and training shoe, formed the foundations for later developments. These years revolutionized what athletes wore, but Adidas still had a long way to go. The 1954s. The German team wins the World Cup for the first time. Adi Dassler is at the game in Bern. At halftime he adapts the players' shoes to the ground conditions, using screw-in studs. The soccer shoe worn in the final in Bern is later called World Champion. The 1960s. At the Olympic Games in Rome, 75% of all track and field athletes rely on Adidas shoes. Wilma Rudolph, who suffered from polio as a child, takes the gold in the 100-meter and 200m and in the 4x100-meter relay. To mark the Olympic Games, the ROM training shoe is launched. The 1970s. In Mexico, an Adidas ball, the Telstar, is the official ball at a soccer World Cup for the first time. Right up until the present day, all goals at major soccer events are scored with Adidas balls. In the 1970s, Adidas was the top athletic shoe brand sold in the US. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier were both wearing Adidas boxing shoes in their Fight of the Century in 1971. Adidas was named the official supplier for the 1972 Munich Olympic Games. On September 6, 1978, at the age of 77, Adolf left this world. The management of the company was taken over by his widow Katerina. With the death of the founder, the company begins its most severe crisis caused and primarily by the emergence of serious competitors. Nike and Reebok launched aggressive advertising campaigns in North America in the 1980s. There was a lot of innovation in the 1980s. Technology progressed along with the impact of sports and music on culture. With Adidas, athletes of all kinds can now wear advanced running shoes. Running shoes with screens on the tongue were called micropacers, and they tracked distance, average speed, and calories burned. Adidas Copa Mundial was introduced in 1983 and was the best-selling soccer cleat for years to come. The German team wins the European Soccer Championships for the second time, outfitted from head to toe in Adidas. In 1984 Katerina died and in 1987 Horst Dassler, son of Adolf and Catherine, died. The company was sold for only 440 million German marks to Bernard Tapie, owner of French soccer club Olympique Marseille, leaving themselves with only 20% of the company. At this time Adidas was on the brink of disaster. The 1990s. However, the new owner was unable to improve the company's situation. In 1993, he sold Adidas and a few years later was declared bankrupt. A group of French investors became the new buyers of the company. Robert Louis Dreyfus was appointed as the head of Adidas. Under his leadership the reorganization of the company began, the marketing budget was significantly increased and production began to be moved to Indonesia, China and Thailand. Savings on cheap labor and third world countries made the products competitive in the world market again. The 1990 success turns out to be one of the most successful years in Adidas history. At the European Soccer Championships and the Atlanta Olympic Games Adidas successfully underlines its ambition to become the leading sports brand in the world. 5 of the 16 teams at the European Championships wear Adidas. Adidas also supplies the official match ball and equips the referees and linesmen. The innovative Adidas soccer shoes with traction sole technology are an instant success and represent a new milestone in the development of soccer shoes. The German team wins the European Soccer Championships, fully outfitted in Adidas. Adidas has chosen 1996, the centenary of the modern Olympic Games, to celebrate past successes and triumphs still to come, symbolized by the concept, "We knew then, we know now." This concept reaps rich rewards with gold medals by Donovan Bailey, Canada, Lars Riedel, Germany, Nureddin Morsali, Algeria, Haile Gebrselassie, Ethiopia, and Felix Savon, Cuba. Adidas equips 33 nations in Atlanta, 6,000 participants wear Adidas, and Adidas supplies products for 21 of the 26 sports. No other brand has been so closely associated with so many athletes in so many sports over so many years as Adidas. In 1997 Adidas announces the acquisition of the Salomon Group, with the brands Salomon, TaylorMade, Mavic and Bonfire. This acquisition creates one of the world's leading sporting goods groups with a portfolio of outstanding brands. The name of the new group is changed to Adidas Salomon AG. The 2000s. With its Adidas brand, Adidas Salomon dominates the 2 outstanding sports events of the year, the European Soccer Championships in Holland and Belgium, and the Olympic Summer Games in Sydney. Adidas, official supplier and licensee of Euro 2000 trademark, equips European champions France and the most outstanding player of the tournament, Zinedine Zidane. Alongside Zidane, David Beckham, England, Patrick Kluivert, Holland, and Alessandro Del Piero, Italy, where the revolutionary new Adidas soccer shoe, the equipment Predator registered precision. More than 25% of the goals in this tournament are scored by players wearing this shoe. The Adidas equipment Silverstream is the official match ball of the tournament. The 2005s. the company was gaining momentum again. The brand was growing in popularity with each passing year. In 2005, Adidas sold the company to Salomon Sports and, with the proceeds, in August 2005, Adidas bought 100% of the shares of their competitor Reebok International for $380 billion. This absorption allowed Adidas to increase its share of the important American sports market to 20% and to get as close as possible to the market leader Nike, which controls 35%. The 2010s. New releases over the past decade have focused on sustainable practices. In collaboration with Parley, an organization dedicated to ocean conservation, Adidas developed shoes and clothing made from recycled ocean plastic. Reusing plastic and debris that already pollutes the earth launched a movement to end the wasteful fashion loop. As sustainability became increasingly aware, technological innovations increased as well. It was during this timeframe that Boost, an energy-returning midsole, was developed. As an evolution in cushioning, the Futurecraft 4D's midsole is created by sculpting liquid using light and oxygen. Kanye West's Yeezy line and Stella McCartney's high-performance sportswear marked this decade as well. Today, the appearance of many Adidas concert has only two small factories of its own, one in Germany and one in the United States. All products are made to order in 290 different factories. Of these, 71% are in Asia, 18% in America, 6% in Africa and 5% in Europe. In terms of footwear production, 97% is made in Asia, including Vietnam, Indonesia and China. Present day. A huge party was held on the company's Bavarian campus to celebrate its 70th anniversary. In the same year, it also began collaborating with Beyoncé Knowles and Ivy Park. With one of the most exciting collaborations in the company's history, the company reflects on how far the company has come. Coronavirus pandemics of 2020 to 2021 were challenging times for companies worldwide. Adidas emerged from this difficult period with a new outlook. Kasper Rorsted extended his leadership of the company for another 5 years, the Reebok brand was divested, and Own the Game was launched as a 5-year strategy. An emphasis is placed on consumer experience, credibility, and sustainability. What made Adidas famous? After Jesse Owens wore Adidas shoes to win 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics, Adidas became internationally famous. Germany won the 1954 World Cup final wearing Adidas shoes. Adidas became very famous because of these two sports events. Since Adidas has been around for so long, Adolf Dassler gave it what it needed to become the sportswear icon it is today by launching it onto the world stage and giving it the platform to flourish. You're almost certain to notice the company's signature trefoil plant if you look around the next time you go out and about. Friends, what is your personal favorite sportswear brand and why? Share your opinion in the comments and do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel, where there will be a lot of new and interesting videos.